Shalom. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rachakodash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, because those are the men who I learned the truth from through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai. Yahweh is the true name of the God of Israel. Yahushai is of the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, but his one and only true name is Yahushai. And pretty much I just wanted to do this video about giving diligence to make your calling and your election sure, because a lot of men that join particular Hebrew Israelite camps, they was never really don't understand what it means to be a part of this truth. Being a part of this truth, you got to prove your faith as an individual to Yahweh and Yahushai unto the end. Whether you feel, through being fully persuaded, through being fully assured of the things you learned, from the different examples of the men of the Lord. You got to understand that when you join the camp, you're doing that through faith, all right? If you leave a particular camp or a particular organization, or you get suspended or kicked out, you still got to continue on in the correct gospel and doctrine so that you could be made wise unto salvation and others like you, which would be the elect of the nation of Israel, the seed of the promise, which is the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. So when you come into this truth, understand you have to bear your cross, and bearing your cross involves you being patient and suffering while you're waiting for these prophecies to come to pass in the form of current events, all right? So a lot of men, they don't understand that. They want to be so buddy with everybody, and the thing is, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be cool, with people. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be cool with others that's like-minded like you. But you got to also understand, when you read the scriptures, friendships are earned. Respect is earned based off of your actions, all right? So this video is pretty much based off of some dude named AHSHAWAR that used to be, in the main camp before I joined the camp. This loser, he did like a 2-part video talking about, when I was in the main camp, I was gonna commit suicide. It's like you pathetic, But it's not even just him. While I'm doing this video, there's always examples like this throughout the years. So understand, when you join in a camp, join it through faith. Don't join it because you starstruck, off of watching the YouTube videos, and now you see your teachers and the different men of the Lord that you've been watching on social media platforms, mainly YouTube or in person, right? Don't join the camp for that, because your time is going to come when you're going to get sifted out. It happens all the time. These guys, they be having the same weak, lame-ass excuses all the time. You're supposed to understand, when you join the camp, yeah, you're going to be dealing with, egos, and brothers got different type of spirits, but what do we all have in common? We all want to be a part of the elect, and we all proving our faith and have faith in Yahweh and Yahushai, all right? You got to understand, especially if you're a new person coming into the camp, friendships is earned, respect is earned, all right? The scriptures say that there's no respect of persons as far as judgment, but you're going to have particular people that's cool, that's more cool with, other brothers than other brothers. It's just a normal thing. That don't mean you hate people or you dislike them. That's just how the Lord predestinated things, So these dudes that go in the world, or that join camps and then they leave the camps, they go back to their vomit, which is Christianity, the different Christian denominations or religions. Maybe they become an atheist, right? They'll say, I was a part of a racist cult. They'll point the finger at everybody else except for them own selves, because they're not men. They're not accountable for their own actions, all right? So this is what this video is going to be about. You have to do things through faith, being in the truth, and you have to develop balance being in the truth. Because what one brother is into, you know, you may not be into that on a personal level, like going to the gym. Everybody ain't into that, all right? Certain type of music you may listen to, everybody ain't into the same type of music. So it's different type of spirits, all right? As long as you're not going off, you're not intentionally breaking the law, statutes, and commandments, hey, maybe that's just your niche, all right? But let's get into it. This is Luke 9:23. It says, and he said unto them, he said to them all, if any man, the any man is referring to Israelites, all right? So-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. When you read the New Testament, the Christians were Jews that followed the Messiah. When you read Acts, the 6th and the 11th chapter, right? So it's saying, if any man, referring to Israelite men, and also could apply to Israelite women as well, all right? But Israelite woman's job is not to have authority over the man by being a teacher, by being an evangelist. She can teach her children, all right? But, you know, once that male child get to a certain age, he's a man, you know? He got his own destiny that the Lord set up for him, all right? A woman's job is not to spread the gospel. A woman's job is not to, you know, be masculine or have any authority over a man. She's not supposed to be doing that. She's not supposed to be a teacher. So when you see Christianity, it's completely out of order. There's feminism with Christianity. Feminism is accepted. Sodomy is accepted. Westernization is accepted. All right? A rural prophet and a rural believer in general will be prophesying the downfall of Babylon the Great. It would be, you know, the prophet would be prophesying against westernization, democracy, man-made religion, anything that's false, that goes against the scriptures, all right? So the any man is talking about Israelite men ultimately, because the Israelite men who's predestinated to be a teacher, a prophet, an evangelist, all right? You're supposed to be a teacher. You're supposed to be watching these live streams, get built up, you know, take notes, study, and then ultimately you're supposed to want to join a great millstone camp, but understand, why do you want to join the camp for? Because you need friends, you know? What do you want to join the camp for? A lot of these dudes that join the camp, they don't know why they want to join the camp. They don't even know why they're in the camp, all right? And then they acting like, you know, they being oppressed when they in the camp. You're not being oppressed. You just a loser. You're not a part of the elect. You was called, but you wasn't chosen. So it says, if any man will come after me, right, to serve the Lord, to be a follower of the anointed, right, let him deny himself. You got to deny yourself. You got to put off your selfish desires. You have to make time for Yahweh and Yahawashi, the street ministry, the gospel, the correct doctrine, you know, teaching the sheep. So it says, let him deny himself. Put off your selfish personal desires, right? You know, the way how you are, you know, humble yourself. I'm talking about myself, you know, as well. You know, you got to humble yourself in the sight of great men, right? It says, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily. This is a daily battle. This is a daily fight. You're supposed to filter the world and everything you see through the truth, through the scriptures. You know, you deal with racial discrimination. Oh, okay, this is the reality of Deuteronomy chapter 28. Oh, okay, things were sweet in this relationship as far as you and your woman, but then shit go left after a while. That's the curses, all right? You're supposed to understand the reality of waking up every day. You're going to go through the curses of Deuteronomy chapter 28. You're going to have to bear your cross, all right? Yahawashi, he had to deal with a lot. You think you ain't going to have to deal with a lot? It says, take up his cross daily. You got to take up that cross daily, man. And that also involves what? Suffering. You're going to have to be patient when you change to a lower state. You're going to have to pray to Yahweh and Yahushua. You're going to have to develop balance and self-control, right? And follow me. It says, for whosoever will save his life shall lose it. You got particular men that go into the world after a while. Oh, this Hebrew Israelite camp, they ruined my life. You know, I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that. No, you didn't want to do that, all right? Because at the end of the day, we all men. We have the power, not really power, because everything is predestinated, there ain't no free will. But as far as predestination and destiny goes, you know, the choices that you make, that's what the Lord predestinated you to do. So if you leave the camp and you felt like you was missing out on things in the world, you know, you want to be some form of celebrity or some type of man with status to get vainglory and clout, right? You want to be more around your family. Pretty much, you didn't want to put off your selfish desires. You didn't want to take up that cross daily. You know, the reality of being a servant of Yahweh was too much for you. Going through these curses of Deuteronomy 28, it was too much for you. So now you think you're going to go in the world or leave the camp and shit going to be sweet. It ain't going to be sweet. It's going to be even worse, all right? You got some of these dudes, they used to be in the camp, they get locked up. All type of dumb shit is happening to them. Why? Because they're fools. Don't scoff, don't curse the men of the Lord ever in your life. You got these men, they cursing, you know, put out death threats to the apostles, looking completely stupid, talking about the apostles going to die after a certain amount of time. You know, them new covenant guys, right? And now look at them, all exposed. They don't even do videos no more. All of them, pretty much, they getting locked up. They look foolish. The men you're supposed to be following on the planet Earth is great millstone, all right? The apostles, great millstone, the men of great millstone as a whole. If you pray to the Lord and you sincerely want to be a teacher, me speaking from experience, you should want to join Great Millstone. Joining Great Millstone is going to put you at the pinnacle, Lord willing, you know, you be a part of the elect. It's going to put you at the pinnacle of being a good teacher, all right? Because you're learning from the best. Continuing on, it says, his life shall lose it. But whosoever will lose his life for my sake, the same shall save it. Link this up with Revelation 12 and 11. The mindset of the elect of the nation of Israel, no matter if we have a good time, no matter what we do in our personal downtime, all right? You know, chilling with brothers, chilling with your woman. If you got a family, chilling with your family. We still hate our lives because we're not living life to the fullest, all right? So if you want to save your life, ultimately, what is that going to lead to? You being a hireling, you being a sellout, you joining some type of Jesuit or Masonic order, you becoming an enemy to the cross, all right? You selling out, you being under that 501c3 charter, you being a false prophet, you teaching false doctrine. That's what it's going to lead to. It's going to lead to your utter destruction. That's what's going to happen. You're going to end up worshiping the image of the beast, which is this centralized banking system, and it's going to physically lead to you taking the mark of the beast, which is the RFID chip implant. All right? So you got to understand the reality of these things. So let's go here. This is John 21 and 15, because look, if you get suspended or kicked out the camp, you know, you still got to feed the sheep. You know, the truth ain't going to stop, and it ain't going to change because the Lord put the spirit of strong delusion on you, all right? He put a lying spirit in your mouth. So now you will scoff on the marker because you're emotionally hurt, all right? Which is an effeminate trait. A lot of men, they don't even make it through that. You know, being suspended, being kicked out, being separated for the camp. You know why? Because they were never fully persuaded. They just wanted to be cool, or they was just the cool guys. It ain't about being cool, all right? Obviously, you got to respect all the men that's around you, but at the end of the day, you know, it's all about you as an individual serving Yahweh and Yahushua. And you have the correct examples of how to do that by following the men, beginning with the apostles of Great Millstone. This is John 21:15. So when he had dined, Yahweh saith to Simon Peter, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me more than these? He saith unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He said unto him, Feed my lambs. Yahweh don't care about your feelings like that. Now, obviously, if you're being treated wrong, there's scriptures or a scripture that says that his elect cry to him day and night. Yahweh, through Yahweh will avenge his elect. You know, you could put curses on your enemies. There's a lot of ways without getting carnal, unless you got to go there in self-defense, all right? But there's a lot of ways you could pray to the Lord, you know, put curses on your enemies, and you'd be surprised how fast the Lord be destroying and ruining people's lives from messing with his elect. I throw curses daily, ex-girlfriends, you know, false brothers that used to be a part of camp. You know, you don't put curses on men in the camp. You don't do that, all right? Because the Lord could destroy you for that. But if a dude that's in the camp turned out to be a nigga, right? He turned out to be a stereotype. Put curses on his ass. He ain't fucking teaching. He ain't teaching the correct gospel and doctrine. So he not a brother. He's an enemy. So you throw curses. You tell the Lord to destroy that individual, right? So continuing on, it says, and he said to him again the second time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? This is the Lord talking to the head disciple. He talking to Peter. It says, he saith unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He saith unto him, Feed my sheep. He saith unto him a third time. 3 represent understanding, right? Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? Peter was grieved. He was annoyed. You know, somebody asked you the same thing 3 times. It's like you annoyed. Me, you know, continuing on. It says, Peter was grieved because he saith unto him the third time, Lord, it says, because he saith unto him the third time, lovest thou me? And he said unto him, Lord, thou knowest all things. Thou knowest that I love thee. Yahweh saith unto him, Feed my sheep. You think Yahweh care about your feelings? You got a job on the planet Earth to do as an Israelite man, which is to spread this gospel and doctrine. So if you ain't doing that, then you're a waste. You don't even need to be alive. So that's it with that. Let's go here. This is Romans 14:5. It says, One man esteemeth one day above another, another esteemeth every day alike. Let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. You got to be fully persuaded in your own mind. Let's go into this word persuaded in the Greek.
Strong's G 4135. Pleiraphoreo. Pleiraphoreo.
Yep. Let's get to the point. Yep. To fill one with any thought, conviction, or inclination, to make one certain, right? To persuade, convince one. It says to be fully persuaded, fully convinced, or assured. Going back to what? 2 Timothy 3:14, one of my favorites. So a lot of these men that join the camp, or even the guys that be watching the live streams, they be watching the videos, they be leaving comments. You know, you'll have a dude every once in a while, oh, I've been watching for 5 years, I've been watching for 9 years, I've been watching for 10 years. And these dudes, you don't even know what they look like. They never came to the camp. They don't got no street ministry. You know, they know their precepts. Why they don't do no videos? Because they're not fully persuaded. They're not real men of the Lord. They scared. They ashamed of Yahweh and Yahushua. People like that irk my spirit. I don't even like to look at them, you know? So it says in his own mind. You got to be fully persuaded. You got to be convinced that this is the truth. No matter what you got to go through, whether you in or out of the camp, the mission remains the same. Once you know better, you do better, and you endure to the end. Romans 14:22, it says, Hast thou faith, have it to thyself as an individual before the Most High. Happy is he that condemneth not himself in the thing which he alloweth. Come on, man. You got faith, prove it to the Most High. 1 Peter 1:10, it says, yep, I don't know if this is it. It might be 2 Peter 1 and 10. Let me see. 2 Peter 1, give diligence. There's got to be it. Yeah. Second Peter 1 and verse 10. It says, wherefore rather, brethren, this is Peter talking to other Israelites, because Strong's G80 is referring to, relatives, your kinsmen, right? You got to come from the same seed line. It could be different tribes, but it's the same common forefather, right? Wherefore the rather, brethren, give diligence, right? What's the word for diligence in the Greek?
Strong's G 4704, spudazo. Spudazo.
What that mean? Yep. It says to exert oneself, endeavor, give diligence. So if you diligent, you're going to be consistent, all right? You're not being consistent because you're looking for some type of clout or vainglory. You're being consistent because you've been called in the truth and you see the examples on how to be and what not to be. You know what's going to ultimately lead to salvation. Consistency, being instant in season, not a season. So it says, give diligence to make as an individual, your calling and election sure, right? There's a specific gospel that the elect of the nation of Israel will learn on the planet Earth while they're alive to be made wise unto salvation. It says, an election sure, for if ye do these things, ye shall never fail, never fall. So this is why men fall, because they're not consistent. They're not balanced. They're not fully persuaded. They're not assured of the things they learn. They just mockingbird. They don't know what the hell they in the truth. They don't even know why they in the camp. Let's go here. This is Philippians, right? I forget what verse I wanted out of this, because I be having my lessons prepared, and then I wait for the Spirit to hit me. Damn, let me see. There's a precept I wanted. I can't really think of it right now. Let me see. It's not 2 and 1. Yeah, I don't remember. I'm going to just finish it with this. This is Lamentation chapter 3, verse 26. It says, it is good that a man should both hope and quietly wait for salvation of the Lord. Right? Read in the NLT, Lamentation 3:26. So it is good to wait quietly for salvation from the Lord. And that involves, even if you got to suffer wrongfully, it's not about you defending yourself. It's not about you justifying yourself. Yahweh and Yahweh will justify you in the sight of men. All right? Just do the right thing, teach, and that's it. You don't need to make no public videos on how you feel. Oh, I was in a racist code. I wanted to commit suicide, being a talebearer. Acting like a fucking woman that go on social media and tell the world about, oh, this guy sucks in this relationship, playing the victim role. The Lord said no effeminate is going to enter into the kingdom. So, that's pretty much it. Just be fully persuaded, develop balance, pray, and understand why you do these videos, why you do these live streams, why you want to join the camp, why you in the camp. Shalom.